Greetings, ladies and gentlemen of the internet, Jan Michael here. Every single year, the Oscars tend to nominate a film that critics would call a tour de force, while general audiences would probably call pretentious. Seriously, every single year. Last year you had The Zone of Interest, the year before that was Tar, the year before that was Drive My Car, the year before that was Mank. I can go on and on. We just get those type of films that try something new and it works for critics. General audiences usually go, huh? But while I get that the word pretentious has negative connotations behind it, I mean, it technically is a negative word, if you will. Whenever I hear that being said, I tend to get excited because at the very least, I know that the filmmaker is trying something new. Doesn't always work, doesn't always succeed, but at least they're trying. And for that, I was super excited to go see Nickel Boys because of what it did so differently compared to other films.
Elwood!
Nana.
Elwood!
Based off the book The Nickel Boys, the film Nickel Boys follows two young black men who attend Nickel Academy, which is a reform school. What goes on in this school is the stuff of nightmares. The teachers take advantage of the students. They make them do hard labor. They'll have them do sporting events and then throw the competitions in a bid to make money off them. And it's even implied that they sexually abuse them as well. The school is also segregated, with the white students enjoying a more relaxed environment, and those caught in the middle, like a half Mexican boy in the film, constantly being shuffled back and forth between dorms. Nickel Academy is based off the real-life Dozier School that ran for 111 years. An investigation into the school found unmarked graves of students that died that the school never reported on. All of this is also translated into the film itself, with the reality of the situation being that these two young men are very much in danger and could die. These teachers could kill them. And when they're being punished, you hear the horrific sounds of them being punished, of the other students being punished. Yet, it never shows you this. All you do is hear what's happening, even when it is happening to our protagonists. It's interesting because this is something that I didn't even really think about until after the film was done. But it never really depicts the gruesome things that are going on behind the scenes of Nickel. You hear it all, but in terms of scenes that make you want to look away due to the horrific nature of them, they're not there. And I know hearing that may sound odd, but it never lessened the impact that was being dealt. There were still moments in my theater of audience gasps and mutters of disgust for what was occurring. Kudos to the sound department for what they managed to achieve here, because without the impactful sounds, I think this would not have paid off at all. However, where I don't think the film pays off is it's in its camera style. Now, if you are unaware, the whole movie is told from the point of view of these two protagonists. And when I mean point of view, I mean point of view, like the camera is their eyes. Whatever they see, we see. Whatever they don't see, we don't see. And it creates this disconnect. Like when you're hearing them talk, when you hear these people deliver their lines, it sounds unnatural. When they're looking at people and it's just staring, we blink as people. And when it's just a steady shot of no real glances left or right, it's distracting. It's funny, the more internally we become with these characters, the further the connection we have with them, which I think is something that we wouldn't have experienced if it was shot in a more traditional way. That being said, I do think there are moments where the style does work. One such moment is when one of the boys in an earlier age is looking at his arm. You may not be aware of why until you reflect back on the previous scenes. He's noticing the color of his skin for the first time, and it's done in a very natural way that I really thought was effective. During another moment, we jump back and forth between the two protagonists as they're talking with each other. These were moments where it felt more fluid. Though, if I'm being honest, it still felt like a gimmick to me. Like, I didn't experience anything that I would have not felt if a more traditional camera style was implemented. With maybe the exception of the cinematography, because I'll admit, there are certain shots that stand out due to seeing things in this style. But ultimately, it wasn't enough to justify the whole thing for me. While watching the film, I actually thought about how video games have actually developed this style so much better. And part of it is because they've had so many years to practice it. I think if these two mediums were to come together, I think you could create something that's more striking, believable, that feels more like you're actually living like these people. Here, I don't think it quite works. However, I still respect Ramel Ross's vision to try to tell a story like this in a unique way. Again, I'll always applaud and give credit to people who try versus those that don't even bother, because how many people out there say, oh, well, Hollywood has no good ideas anymore, but then they shun unique experiences like this. So yeah, even though I think general audiences would call this pretentious, I really don't think it's negative in this sense. Lastly, I want to give a shout out to this excellent cast. The two young men, played by Ethan Heresy and Brandon Wilson respectively, are fantastic and work off each other spectacularly. They had such chemistry together that even when they were mad at one another, I never thought they would stay apart for long. I completely bought their friendship. And of course, Anjanou Ellis-Taylor as the grandmother of Ethan's character, who has some spectacular moments throughout. There's a scene towards the end with her that's really going to stick with you because of her performance. Overall, what we got here is a really good product. I was actually scared as the reviews came out and more general audiences started seeing the film, where they were respecting the film enough, but they said it just didn't work for them. And I was afraid I was gonna join suit. Like, I thought, oh yeah, this is on a technical scale brilliant, but overall it just doesn't work as a movie. But luckily that is not the case. I do think this is a good product, and even though I don't think the style really benefits greatly from the overall experience, it's still unique, it's still new, and I was still fascinated with the movie as a whole to continue watching it. It never bored me at any point, I never felt disoriented at any point. I understood what was happening. So yeah, not my favorite, but I still respect what Ramel Ross did, and I'm looking forward to what he does next. Earning a passing grade, I give Nickel Boys a 4 out of 5, with a recommendation to see it. This type of film doesn't come around very often, so it's definitely worth experiencing at the very least once. Plus, it's an important message, which shouldn't be ignored. So if not for one aspect, then at least give it a look-see for the other.
We have to be like knights. Checkmate.
Two films left, ladies and gentlemen. We're close. We can see the finish line on the horizon. So don't wuss out on me now. Come back tomorrow because we got a doozy of a review. Until then, everybody, like always, stay safe out there and have a good one.